This podcast has been brought to you by the patrons at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Go there and donate a couple bucks to get access to the wonderful Slack channel, to get early access to episodes, and to just be a cool person and support a great network of podcasts. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the episode. I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast. And today we're talking about X-Men, the animated series, Season 3, Episodes 3, 4, and 5. Gary, how are you today?
I'm well.
I'm ready to get,
I'm ready to get Phoenixed up.
You got your astronaut suit on that's going to make clever use of your powers in some way or form?
I'm bad to the core bone.
Bad to the core bone.
I'm doing it. This is we're getting into it. This is noteworthy because this is the first prestige story, I guess, that the cartoon has adapted.
This is our first huge multi-part episode arc. So this is these are 5 different episodes. We're not covering all of them. We're splitting it across 2 episodes. So we'll recover the first 3 today and then the next 2 in 2 weeks. But man, this is a 5-episode arc. Young Jeremy must have lost his goddamn mind to realize that there's 5 episodes of a thing. Then they're all going to be
I was way into it. Yeah, when I was young, I was really, really into it. And they do that twice this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of strange, and you can kind of see if you look at the show as a work of adaptation, and you can think the first couple seasons, they adapted things that were based on larger storylines, but they were kind of more just mythos elements rather than plots.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's not really a defining Savage Land story for the X-Men. It's just there's the Savage Land.
Yeah.
So they did some Savage Land,
and then there's that Kazar guy, and they just threw a bunch of stuff into a pot that they knew, all that stuff was Savage Land.
Exactly. But it wasn't there's not the Savage Land saga, that's not a thing in the comics,
Thank God.
But this is I feel they were okay, we have to do stuff that deals with the X-Men. The Shi'ar is a thing, the Phoenix is a thing, but that's not, just a touchstone that every once in a while there's the Phoenix. No, it's the Phoenix Saga and the Dark Phoenix Saga, as things, primarily the Dark Phoenix Saga, but it has some setup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's we have to do that as a big plot. And I am kind of amazed at how inaccurate this is. I remembered it being closer to the cartoon and then realized I was remembering the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And went and did some research. If I remember, the Dark Phoenix part of the cartoon is more accurate.
Okay.
Which is weird because it's full of S&M shit. Yeah, this has nothing to do with what happens really in the in the thing. I mean, it's just about, the Shi'ar showing up, and that's how the Phoenix shows up, but they expanded it into a big old thing to. I think they kind of
evil twin. Let's not forget that.
Oh, I can't that outfit. The his evil shawl. Because all that stuff's new, and I think that what they did was they were let's get some Lilandra shit out of the way too. There's this whole subplot in the X-Men about the Shi'ar Empire and their weird Game of Thrones politics. Let's kill some of that shit, which I think is good because I hate that stuff. I'll get it out of the way. I hate the fucking Shi'ar. The Shi'ar really suck.
They're not fun whenever they show up. This is I got Autumn into reading the X-Men by putting her in front of Grant Morrison's X-Men,
mm-hmm.
which is I think would be a good starting point up until the space people show up, and then she was like, "Jeremy, I can't read this garbage. This is just horrible." And I don't blame her. I was because she was like, "Can you explain these characters to me?" And I said, "Well, not really. Not. You just kind of have to just read it and just get through it. There's stuff on the other side that you're going to want to read. Okay, never mind. Don't worry about it." Yeah, it's I don't particularly like any of these characters. The aesthetic is something that really bothers me. The way that Lilandra looks is just kind of odd and not very cool space to me.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Star Wars, and I know we've both said a lot about Star Wars on this podcast, but at least the aesthetic is okay. The way that the ships look is kind of cool. None of the Shi'ar Empire ships look interesting to me at all.
I think that's pretty true. And there's things about the Imperial Guard that I like. Which is their X-Men. the Shi'ar superheroes, where like some of them are kind of cool or have cool powers. I remember when I was young, those like official handbooks of the Marvel Universe things would just show all the characters. And I would get to the Imperial Guard section. I'd be like, here's 12 cool like superpowered creatures to like look at and draw and stuff. I remember liking that a lot when I was young. But the actual politics stuff, like they're so there's like the Shi'ar are really that kind of like generic space noble. Like they're not different enough to really be alien. You know, they're bird creatures, but they don't have the minds of birds. They're just medieval people in space.
They don't even really like have the physical forms of birds in a lot of ways either. But like in the ways that they do,
hair.
it just looks like exactly. It just looks like bad hair.
Yeah, they have goofy hair. Those are supposed to be feathers. Like they're supposed to have feathers instead of hair, I think.
It's like,
and it doesn't look like that at all.
The aliens in every single like Star Wars, the original series, of like, oh, you're just a human with like a thing coming out of your ear, like
or Star Trek, the original series?
Star Trek. I said Star Wars, yeah, Star Trek, the original series. Like just this, makeup could not keep up with the imagination at all.
Because in Star Wars, it would look different, but it would just be racist.
Yeah,
like it'd be look different, but it'd be like, what if it was Jamaican? Ha ha.
It's okay that she's naked because she's my sister.
Yes, yeah, that's why it's okay. You gotta get yourself a sister, doy. But it's just like if they had, you could do all of the Shi'ar storylines if they had transported to medieval Europe. Like it's literally just like my brother, the emperor, is trying to take, or my brother is trying to become emperor and usurp our kingdom, and this is our knight, who is sworn to protect me and stuff. Like it's so bland for being alien. Like it's the most bland like alien thing. I don't know.
And then our plot device here, this Imkron crystal that like controls everything. Like it's just the most boring like thingamajig that these people have to get after. Like it's just like it's literally a crystal. Like it's in the title. Like it's just a boring crystal.
And it's got an orb inside of it, and it has like unlimited power, but that's really poorly explained. And a lot of things about these episodes of the cartoon that I was surprised when I was looking back on it and just kind of thinking about my knowledge is that like it's not necessarily better explained in the comic. Like I was like in the comic, I was like, do I have a better idea what the Imkron crystal does in the comic? No, like it's the thing they have to get to save Age of Apocalypse, but just because it has magnificent power, it's really ill-defined, like as a MacGuffin.
And it's one of those things like it has like infinite power or magnificent power or whatever, but like nobody, like there's no like mechanical stuff with that. And for better or for worse, like when it comes to fantasy or sci-fi, I actually kind of dig the mechanics. That's one reason that I like that Sanderson guy, because like he writes all these crazy magic books, but like they all have crazy different magic systems. Yeah, like that stuff is interesting and good. But if you just tell me like, oh, he got the crystal, now he, and then he like Dragon Balls out or whatever, like I don't care. Like it just loses interest.
Yeah, it's an internal consistency that you want. It makes the world feel more believable.
Exactly.
If there's rules to it, as opposed to it just literally being magic.
Which is magic in this case.
And the way this articulates at the end is so incredibly dumb. Like when he actually gets the crystal, what that means.
Oh yeah,
is like that's gonna be fun to talk about because that's really something.
I was watching these with disbelief, like just watching, going like I can't. I know I was into this as a kid. Yeah, I don't.
This is what you're trying to prevent. Like this buddy wants to turn himself into a big rock guy. Like go nuts, buddy. He'll sleep tonight. Let Decon tire himself out. He's all tuckered out from turning into a rock god in his own little dimension. That like I don't understand why it's. It's just like, and then it causes disasters. Like I don't. It's very hard to explain what's going on. And like I feel like much of these episodes, the one thing I'll say about this entire arc is that like everything moves really quick.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have a lot of time to question some of the stuff. It's just like it moves at a really good pace. So you get to these points where it's like, wait, what are you doing? Like this first episode, it's like, wait, what's your plan?
It goes so fast.
Everything just happens so quickly that like you're not supposed to really question it. It's like I'm being fast talked. I feel like I'm getting conned. Like I'm playing 3-card Bounty with like
sorked out or is what's happening.
Yeah, I've been all sorked. I'm all sorked up.
All sorked up. Martin Sheen came over, put his arm around you, and just talked your ass right out of the White House.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I resign. Thank you, sir.
You can have it. I don't know what I did.
Yeah, you're the president now. It's just let's get into it because some of this stuff is definitely bears talking about. First episode, XM 303, The Phoenix Saga Part 1, Sacrifice. Original air date September 5th, 1994. As Shi'ar emissary, Eric the Red, he is not an emissary. Eric the Red violently takes over. Then that's how you know he's not an emissary. It's like the damn sentence. A Shi'ar emissary, Eric the Red, violently takes over the Eagle 1 space station. The X-Men race into space to save the astronauts on board. None of this happens. And battle Eric the Red. But on the way back to Earth, an energy wave collides with their aircraft. With no other options, Jean takes matters into her own hands and pilots the plane while shielding the rest of the X-Men, exposing herself to the Phoenix Force.
God, it just makes it sound so dirty. Like Gambit sounds like he would expose himself to the Phoenix Force. Why didn't you say like opening yourself or opening herself?
That is 100% true. You don't want to open up to the. Well, I mean, either or, I guess not. Like Gambit opening up to the Phoenix Force. I don't like that.
Oh God, yeah, just instantly fried, right?
The first time I had sex was with my aunt Cherie. Like
Gambit's
my baby said, she taught me how to be a man.
Gambit's gonna do the thumb through the zipper trick, and Jean's just gonna fucking vaporize him on the spot.
Yeah, like it's. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Cajun.
a lot of this in the description doesn't happen.
The description is a much more direct and sensical plot. Like this describe like the X-Men finding out a space station is in trouble and going to save the astronauts, as opposed to like taking over the space station because they don't know why. Like, which is actually what happens. Like they're superheroes. Goddamn! Like, what are you doing?
Not in these 3 episodes. They're not.
No, yeah,
they don't do much superhero shit at all.
So this and the characters even talk about it. Like it's fucking real weird. So we open up with like Xavier. He's kind of space screaming and dreaming about these like bug ships attacking each other. And there's like insectoid ships fighting each other in space.
Yeah, and this is like completely nonsensical. This is what I was talking about with the design. Like I just don't like any of the looks of these ships. Like these weird bug-eyed things don't work for me at all. And you can't tell who's the good guy or the bad guy, which is on purpose right now. But like they're just kind of firing at each other like. No idea what's going on in here, and it goes on for like what 5, 6, 7 minutes.
I mean, it's not quite that long, but it goes on for too long, and it just seems like a weird dream. It doesn't seem like anything be worth screaming about Xavier, until eventually, like a woman in a spacesuit says, like, Xavier, you have to help me. This is all awakened if you remember the last episode. When she gave you a peek behind the kimono, me and Jeremy recorded like 10,000 years ago. But the last episode,
it was 2 weeks for you guys. Me and Gary,
2 weeks for you guys. It was probably 2 months. But in that one, that Shi'ar artifact, that prison that landed, that's what kind of opened up Xavier to these psychic dreams.
You mean exposed Xavier?
Oh yes, it's the thing that exposed him up. Yeah.
Yeah, this is, and I guess this is hurting him because, as you mentioned, he's screaming the entire time. But the way that it's kind of presented, he's just envisioning this stuff. But he's like, why are you doing this to me? Like this is causing him physical pain somehow, or psychic pain or something. But he wakes up from this dream or vision, calls the X-Men to the war room, and they all just arrive in their PJs.
This is really good. Like in the middle of the night, they all get woken up, and like so, Cyclops has his like Hugh Hefner smoking jacket. That of course he wears, and everybody else kind of makes sense. Like Beast isn't just his boxers because like why would he wear clothes at night? Like he doesn't wear clothes during the day.
Why would he wear clothes? Period.
Yeah, it's like when we've established that he's got just like a furry patch where genitals once were, and like everybody kind of shows up and like Xavier's like Rogue's on a mission, just real quick because they didn't want to draw her, and then they're just like at some point. Wolverine comes in. He's like, where's the Cajun? And then Gambit,
he does the chair around backwards too. Like,
he
does hello fellow teens routine.
Yeah. So this like little scene with everybody in their pajamas, I really like. And then Gambit shows up, who's been at a club the whole time. Fucking all skanked out,
dude. Like with this, all like they didn't draw a gold chain, but like I have a mental gold chain, like right? Yeah, because he's got those like top 3 or 4 buttons on his button-down shirt, unbuttoned and like just exposed. Ugh, so gross.
He's not late for Gambit, just like I've been getting kicked out of clubs all night. I keep getting bounced. It's pretty good when he shows up and his little Cajun music sting pops up to you. And Xavier says, listen, I can't tell you why, but I need you to break into this space station. like the Eagle One space station. You just got to do it. It's of utmost importance. Like, trust me, I'm Xavier. It's so fucking weird. Like,
and like they reference Peter Corbeau, who I really only know because of Explain the X-Men podcast with Jay and Miles. I almost said Jerry and Miles. That sounds like a much different podcast. Like a totally anyway. But like, I guess he's like a known dude, and he actually kind of shows up and talks to the X-Men a little bit about like what's happening later on. But for now, like Hank is just like, oh yeah, Eagle One with Peter Corbeau. Yeah, I know that guy. Like, okay, we get it. Fucking name dropper. Like, chill out.
He's a famous. It's weird because at this time the X-Men in the comics, they had a lot of real characters that would show up. Like these NPR reporters kept showing up.
Yeah,
and you could be forgiven for thinking Peter Corbeau was a real scientist, but he's not. He's just like Chris Claremont's Mary Sue character that he included. Like, what if a human was peak performance and was an archaeologist, space magician, scientist lord, and just kind of created this Mega Man into the comics. He's never shown up in the cartoon though before, so it's really weird when everyone just says like, name, bland ass name, and all the X-Men are like, yeah, that guy.
Well, I mean, it's only not weird when you're watching it because you just watched 7 minutes of bug spacecraft shoot anyone.
Yeah.
So this just runs right over.
Yeah, this entire thing is really reliant on you being beaten into submission. So he's like, and Storm's gonna go, of course, and he's like, no, Storm, you stay behind to help this mission. It's like they've already formulated this plan, and we're gonna get to this plan, and the plan's real fucking dumb. Yep. So then he leaves. Hey, just go do this. Gambit, weirdly enough, is the voice of reason, who's like, breaking into government facilities, that doesn't sound like something we do. Which, like, one, you do that all the time. Like it's the first episode, it's the third episode, it's like the 10th episode. It happens literally. All you do is break into shit.
Yeah.
But also, like, why is it Gambit who's the one who's like, hey, why aren't we doing superhero shit?
Yeah, where is Cyclops in this? Like, Cyclops should definitely say something. Even Wolverine, like, this sounds like something Wolverine would be going, I don't think I want to go in space. Like, are we sure about this?
Yeah, and Cyclops is not doing it because he's too busy feeling sad that Xavier didn't tell him a secret.
Oh yeah, I'm glad we took out time from this 22-minute animated series, this 22-minute cartoon, to deal with Cyclops' feelings on being insecure. Like, there's a whole scene where he walks in and is like, Professor Xavier, why can't you tell us what's going on? Why can't you tell me? Like, you just did a performance that sounds like somebody who's insecure. The way Cyclops does it on the cartoon is in the weird, like, it's not Gene declarative voice. So he's like, why didn't you tell the team? Why didn't you tell me? Yeah, the voice actor is not
at the top of his lungs. It's really good.
He's got one declarative tone, and it's not Gene.
And Xavier's like, you have to trust me. I can't do this. And this is just like the weird, like, why this is like setting up a conflict that comes for next episode between the two, and setting up these seeds of, like, Dark Xavier, which you're gonna pay off immediately. But like, why can't he tell him, like, hey, I've been getting psychic projections? Like, they live in a world where this shit happens.
Yeah,
like nothing is weird to you. You're X-Men. Like,
yeah,
you could just say, like, I'm getting space messages. Yeah, literally, like, he drank a potion that turned him into a cat. Like, like, you literally live in a world where, like, Xavier could be like, I'm getting messages from a person from space. I'm the most powerful psychic in the fucking world. It's okay for me to get messages, like distress calls from space. Why does he think his crew won't believe them? Especially Cyclops, who would, like,
literally
believe anything he said.
I mean,
so it's artificial distrust for no reason.
And I thought maybe, because I rewatched these today, and I thought that maybe there was something like Xavier didn't quite know or something, and there is some of that, but like, you can just say, like, I don't know yet. I'm getting psychic projections from an alien force, and it seems weird. I think you guys should be up there to protect the humans. Like,
at the very least, investigate.
Yeah,
like, I need you guys to be there because I can't fucking walk.
Because I can't fucking walk. Because I ain't got no legs.
I ain't got no legs. Like, give me a break, man. Sometimes I need you guys. Like, you don't complain when I ask you to pick up Netflix from the mailbox. Like, don't complain now, Scott.
Don't you understand why Wolverine calls me Wheels all the goddamn time, Scott? Jesus.
It's because of these. Okay, so their plan. They all come up to the thing. Storm summons a bunch of fog because that's Storm's thing. Like, Wolverine is, like, fixing to jump over the fence, but Beast, like, tosses him over.
Yep.
Here, instead of, like, doing, they brought Jubilee whose power set so far as being useful is like kind of annoying guys in the face, and then short circuiting electronics. Like rather than using her to like short circuit this door or whatever, they just have Wolverine like just destroy it, you know, which lets everyone know they're there, which is why they actually need Jubilee. Like they're like,
this plan makes no sense. Like,
need to be. They will believe that this yellow coated teen is the one who broke into this government facility by herself, and that will draw attention away from the 7 like superheroes who actually broke in.
You'd be if you didn't know about the X-Men and I set someone down in front of this episode and the next one, and then afterwards asked you what is Storm's power, I don't think they would say weather. all she does is summon fog. She does this like 4 times. She just summons some fog so people can run away.
Do you think that coming from Africa and stuff, do you think she just learned about fog? Like,
she went to New York, was like, what is this? Moisture in the air.
This is probably weather. Holy, let me try something. Oh shit!
Oh, like, whoa!
Why the goddess?
So this is what clammy feels like.
Oh, this is what the people mean when they describe my handshakes. But it's because she's real into fog recently, and it's because a lot of these problems would be solved by shooting lightning at things. They don't want it to be solved too soon, you know. So
or freezing everybody in the place, right? Like that's the other thing that she never does.
I've so been in fog and it doesn't work the way that like you can see the thickest fog I've ever been in. You could see a good 15-20 feet in front of you.
Yeah, I regularly drive over a 20-mile long bridge that's over like a bayou, and when the temperature changes, like the fucker is fogged up beyond belief, but I can still drive over it. Like, it's safe.
It's not gonna, like, at some point, like I think it's in the next episode, they're like standing right next to some cops and bring in fog and then just run away. It's like a smoke bomb.
Wolverine with the get lost in the fog. Like, it's not a maze, guys.
It's very weird. But this whole thing of just making, and Jubilee's like, oh, why do I have to do this? And why do you have to do this? This doesn't make. I mean, like, you guys could have got in without setting off the alarms. For one, like, you could have actually snuck in rather than like draw all this attention. Like,
I mean, in some world, Gambit is a thief. Like, you should be able to disable alarms.
And Storm. So is Storm, and Beast is really, really stealthy. And you have a psychic who can cloud people's minds, which you use in like 2 seconds. Like, they literally like there's no reason Jubilee couldn't be on this mission, because as soon as these guys show up to arrest her, it's like she's like, well, I broke in, I wanted to see everything, and it's like, okay, fine, but Jean Grey, the other astronauts that come in there, and Jean Grey makes them think that the X-Men are astronauts.
Well, first, Cyclops just totally shoots the astronauts. Like, that's like, there's like 6 astronauts walk in, and Cyclops just shoots every single one of them. Is like, sorry, fellas, like, you couldn't think of another way to handle that.
You have somebody who can put people to sleep.
At the very least, they have minor bruising.
And I think they lock that, don't they? There's like specifically a line, like they lock them in a room with plenty of food and water or something like that. It's like they're cask of Amontillado-ing these people. You guys will be okay, because how long are you planning to be gone, X-Men? Like, yeah, these guys might be locked up for 2 weeks. They need enough rations for that. Like,
Cyclops, why are you breaking up the door? Don't worry, the mortar dissolves in 3 weeks. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Like, it's very weird, very unnecessarily complicated. So then, Dr. Corbeau, though, then Jean like clouds his mind to make him think all the X-Men are the astronauts. Which, like, if you could do that, the entirety of your plan before this point is unnecessary. You could have shown up at the front door and been like, "Hey, we're the astronauts," and then like walk in like you own the fucking place, you know? It's so something
dumb.
else.
It's so
like,
dumb.
It's like, it feels really Space Philly. Like, we need to make sure everybody gets a chance to do something. And here's how.
And this does take a long time. Like, they finally, like, after they finished all of this, there's a moment where Beast and Wolverine are inspecting like whatever the cargo is, because again, the X-Men have no idea why they're there, if they're supposed to be protecting anybody, or what they're supposed to be protecting. And like, Beast is really impressed by this like radiation shielding device, and Wolverine is like,
all these gizmos get on my nerves.
Yeah, that's really good.
You live in the X-Mansion.
Wolverine as an audience surrogate character is quickly becoming one of my favorite things about this show.
Absolutely.
Like, him just saying the things that I'm thinking. Like, I don't care which Cajun gets married to what, like, I'm here to stop a wedding. His whole
that
steez
Cajun line is like one of my favorite things about this show right now.
It's literally
what
one
Cajun
of the,
knows what Cajun.
I'm here to stop a wedding. Like, his whole thing is getting really good because he's just like, this is fucking dumb. And it is. It's so dumb. And that radiation shielding thing is really frustrating because it's so obvious. Like, oh, this will pay off later.
Oh yeah,
like, they're going to use this radiation shielding, aren't they?
Chekhov's radiation shielding is what we've got there. I don't know why Chekhov making anything into a Chekhov's noun just amuses the fuck out of me. Like it could be like Chekhov's Apple Incorporated, and I'm just going to fucking die laughing.
It's because he's a prolific playwright.
True, absolutely. Jean gets a headache and realizes like this is all a setup for a trap, which doesn't make any sense. But poison starts pouring through the thing, and then they all pass out. Gambit thinks he's going to fight off the poison by like charging up a card, which works exactly as well as you might expect if you know anything about poison.
Attack the darkness, yeah,
cards or Gambit.
Yeah,
but everybody passes out. We think Wolverine's going to make it to the door, but he doesn't. And then our villain shows up, this Eric the Red guy. And in the comics, this dude is a fake villain, right? Like in the comics, this guy is
like Cyclops plays him, I think.
Yeah,
at some point. Yeah,
like he's just like he's a mantle that people put on to pretend to be a villain to the X-Men for nefarious reasons. But in this, like he's totally working for the Shire.
Shire. The Shire.
He's working for the Hobbits, Gary.
Yes. I don't think. Yeah, I think that's true. I don't think he was ever associated with the Shi'ar. I think they just needed like a villain, because it wouldn't make any sense for Ken to show up here himself.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah,
and they wanted to do a reveal with Guardian later. Like it'd make the most sense for Guardian to be doing this. Yes. Like that's his job. Like he's literally just like the hand boy of the Empire, the Emperor, Shi'ar Emperor. But so Eric the Red shows up. He's like a lot of the Shi'ar men dress like He-Men. I think this guy is dressed like a He-Man figure.
Lots of exposed flesh, but not where you would expect.
Just like weird X torsos, like a lot of Zardoz like X torsos going on. So like
I want to be comfortable and covered, but I want my nipples exposed also.
Yeah, I need something that'll breathe. I don't want to chafe. So the idea here is that Eric the Red was planning on capturing the astronauts and didn't know that he got the X-Men. Yes. So it's not the X-Men. He wasn't trying to trap the X-Men. He was trying to trap Corbeau. And they never explain why he needs Corbeau. Like this entire all of the. I mean, maybe they do, and I missed it, but I couldn't figure out what the Shi'ar's motivation was here.
Well, I think because of what happens at the end, I think they have determined this is where Lilandra is going to show up. Like she's gone through a wormhole, and like Eric the Red's trying to get ahead of her. Like they know that she's going to Earth, so that he wants to be in position on this space station, which is where the astronauts were going to, so that he can capture Lilandra. My thing on that is, if he has a spaceship that can get him to Earth, why does he need our shitty space station that can't go anywhere?
It's like me taking an Uber to your car so you can drive me to somewhere.
Except you're taking the Uber, you're trying to meet me on the interstate while I'm driving. You're trying to trade.
I'm gonna jump from my Uber to your car rather than take the Uber to the picnic we're going to. The interstate picnic.
The interstate picnic, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's very nobody's plans are good in this. Like nobody comes off well.
But eventually, there is some back and forth here too. I think Eric tries to blow them out of an airlock. Jean saves everybody, but the armed people showed up and shoot her, so she kind of gets knocked out. But Cyclops shoots them.
It's there's kind of a lot awesome. Of back and forth. The armed people are the other astronauts that the Red controls.
They have mind control devices.
They show up 2 episodes later. Like he
keeps them around.
These guys are having a real rough couple weeks. Like he doesn't give up on them because these guys. He just recruited these two guys with guns as his henchmen.
These are trained professionals, dude. Like this is an astronaut. Like the dude's really smart and probably in peak physical condition, and you've put a gun in his hands and making him shoot the X-Men.
And you couldn't bring a Shi'ar. Like this is it's very strange. Like why did you go on this mission by yourself? It's like a Metal Gear mission where it's gear on arrival or whatever SOP mission, on-site procurement. Just recruit any humans you run into.
Recruit any humans. That's the video game I want to play.
Yeah, recruit all humans. So at some point, they're having this back and forth. Eric the Red is talking to his boss, who we find out later is Ken, who's like, I can't believe you captured the X-Men. I wanted you to capture astronauts. Eric Red explains this thing about the wormholes and how he wants to capture Leandra, and we don't know who Leandra is yet. I don't think we've heard that name yet.
No. All we know is that there's a bug-eyed creature that's been communicating with Xavier. That's really all we know at this point.
Yeah. So then the X-Men show up after they're no longer knocked out. The airlock stuff is no longer, and they have a fight.
Yes.
This is with the two Eric the Red's like gun guys.
Yeah. And this fight doesn't really go particularly well for the X-Men. Gambit and Beast once again get involved in some like comedic farce. Like they're really during the poison scene, Gambit dropped his card and like blew him and Beast up, and now like somebody shoots Gambit and he falls back on Beast. Like it's just a real like weird comedic device.
they're cursed to forever interfere with one another.
Yeah. But yeah, they. What ends up happening is the space shuttle, or the space station ends up, getting exploded. So the X-Men have to leave. They save all the astronauts, pile them onto the spaceship. They quickly realize that they're going to be caught up in like this backdraft, which is going to expose them to all of this radiation. If only there was something that we had that could guard against. Oh yeah, the radiation shield thing from earlier. But then of course, nobody can fly the spaceship if they're all in the thing. So Peter Corbeau says, "This is my ship. I'll do it." Jean says, no, I can just shield myself using my telepathic shield and then just download how to do stuff from you, which, Jean, why aren't you the smartest person in the world? Why haven't you been doing this all the time?
This is the kind of thing that the psychics on the X-Men should be doing all the time. In the comics, there's a certain point where, this happened in the cartoon, where Xavier downloads the nuclear physics information from a missile.
From the missile, yeah.
If you could literally learn how to be any inanimate object, like.
But yeah, we need Jubilee to distract some guards.
It's super stupid. This whole thing is just like really, really silly and overly complicated. Like this whole we can be in the shuttle, we can steer, but it will have too much radiation. We have to get into this thing we can't steer that will be controlled by this thing that has too much radiation. Like it just feels fussy. Mm-hmm. To me, in a way that finicky, in a way that doesn't make any sense. And there's of course there's this don't sacrifice yourself, Jean. Like Scott's gonna stop her, and Jean just knocks him out. Which
I love this.
That's not the first time she's done that, right?
No, 100%
that happens.
Not.
That's a dynamic in their relationship where he's, they're at a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, and the mariachi band shows up, and Scott dives into his wallet for a 20, and Jean just knocks him out to stop him from asking him to play Little Spanish Flea over and over and over or whatever.
Not the violins again, Scott. Not the violins.
Yeah. Just any number of things. He's, Scott leans over and is we could watch Despicable Me twice if we just stay in the theater. And she just knocks him out. It probably happens all the time.
What do you think about me turning my yellow strap into a Minions meme? Conk. Out.
Just, that is the dynamic of that relationship.
Which is good.
Wolverine,
props to Jean.
Total props to Jean. And Wolverine, who is in the cartoon, at least, their attraction makes, some mild sense. You can kind of see what she sees in Wolverine, because he's she comes up to him and she's don't try to stop me. And he's I wouldn't try to stop you. I'm just saying, good luck. And,
and he gets a little tiny kiss on the cheek. So that's more than fucking Cyclops got.
Yeah.
Maybe if Cyclops wasn't delaying their fucking wedding every season, she would be a little bit more nicer to him, right? They could just go get married at any time.
Literally, I'm so weird that they're not married, but you can see. So that's a good characterization for Wolverine. He understands sacrifice.
Yep.
It's in the title of the episode. They go down. We get to see the Phoenix Force explode out of her for a second, kind of into her. And this is the first time she gets the Phoenix Force. Everybody lands in they hit the Empire State Building.
Oh wait, we're not quite there yet. That's the end of the episode.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, that's the to be continued mark. Is Jean we see the flash of the Phoenix Force, and then immediately into to be continued, and that's when we go to.
It starts with the next episode. You're right. I watched them back to back, and I got them. Because they go right into each other.
They were aired. Interestingly enough, they were aired one day apart. They didn't wait a week to do this, so it's real easy, and they all blend together pretty seamlessly. If you cut out the intro, you'd be pretty good. So
especially episodes, kind of this one and the next one. They do, and then let's get into the next episode. And we'll get right into the them destroying the Empire State Building. Superheroes, world-renowned superheroes, the X-Men destroying one of the most famous buildings in the world. XM 304, the Phoenix Saga Part 2, The Dark Shroud. Original air date September 6th, 1994. It's a shroud. This episode is very funny to me. When Jean Grey's psychokinetic shield fails, she is possessed by the Phoenix Force. Meanwhile, Xavier goes to Muir Island to recuperate after his mind is attacked, and a psychic projection of his dark Darkseid attacks the X-Men. An alien named Leandra. Why are we getting Leandra's last name? Leandra Naramani.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever used. Comes to assist the X-Men, but is taken captive by Juggernaut and Black Tom. So, and that seems pretty accurate. I think that's more or less what happens.
Sure, yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
If you're curious about Xavier's dark side, like, just stay tuned because we're gonna get there real quick.
It's good. It's good shit. So the rocket ship is shaking and stuff. They're gonna fall down, and this is where Jean gets taken over by the Phoenix Force, which allows her to be psychically strong enough to actually do it.
Yeah, they crash land in the Hudson Bay. I thought that they had missed. I thought like you could see the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center in the background, but you're saying it's the Empire State Building, so maybe I just got them mixed up.
Yeah, they definitely like go through, like they definitely like clip a thing.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure. Like I watched these a while back because it is also we talked about recording these a while back too.
Yeah,
just to, again, just we schedule how we want.
But the shuttle and the this chamber, the radiation chamber, or the radiation shielding chamber that all the people are sitting in, they break apart from one another, and the shuttle like starts shoving the chamber down into the water.
Yeah, and
it's good.
Beast is really intolerable here.
Oh my god!
When the leaks start happening, and he's just our craft seems to have lost its watertight seal, while like putting his hands up, trying
hand over it. What is
trying
that?
to like, because he just wants to. It's like when you put your thumb over the tip of a hose. Like he's just trying to spray down everybody for funzos.
He's probably just trying to cool Gambit down. Who's like, all right, Gambit gonna have an orgy before he dies, yeah.
Gambit never been in space before when he jerk off. I got the Ace of Spades right here. One-eyed Jack is wild.
Is there coffee or cream, Jerry?
Is there any chance that Gambit doesn't refer to his dick as One-eyed Jack?
Or either One-eyed Jack or the King, either one.
Or King of Hearts, the or the Ace of Spades because it's shaped kind of thing. I just like you pretty much, but because Gambit would be like, "This is my 4 of clubs."
And
like,
still sound terrible. That's what I was thinking too.
He's like, "This is the 7 of diamonds, share." Like, why? What do you mean?
What is that? What does that mean? It just sounds gross when you say it.
A pair of rules for draw and stub poker.
How about this 5-card stud? It just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, Gambit.
Gambit's second life name is just called Texas Hold'em, and he thinks it's really dirty and no one else does.
He shaves a different card suit into his pubic hair every month.
Oh, it's probably every day because that shit's wild, right? Like he probably has to maintain that a lot.
You think it grows that fast? It's a secondary mutation they never talk about.
Gambit gonna have to fight stock in Phillips Norelco. He keeps buying all these razors.
You get that Rogaine, you'll be like a bald baby.
Jubilee, what you know about Nash, yeah?
Like, stop asking me that.
Jubilee, I'm 13.
Hello, DCFS.
Yeah,
Jubilee again.
So yeah, they managed to get out. Cyclops blasts the end of the chamber, and they all swim up just in time to see Jean go full like Phoenix Force and fly up into the air full of fire and the flames and say, "Oh, I'm Phoenix," and then just immediately fall into the water again. And this is where if anybody's been watching our Twitters for the last few days, like the amount of genes that Scott throws out is Jesus Christ.
So some of them are clearly the same audio file repeated too.
Yep,
it's real good. Like it's exact Gene. Like Gene.
I'm going to try to cut out every reference to the word gene and just let you go crazy with that and see if there's anything that's there.
We'll definitely have to be a gene related thing. So that's Gene's good. Okay, so she falls down the ground. Scott and Jean run and try to save her at the same time because which one does he love? And she kind of gets this amnesia. She doesn't remember very much, but she's like, I feel powerful. Okay. And this is, they go to the hospital at this point, right? Or is
Yes.
this? Are they still having this conversation in
the water?
fucking
No.
water of the river? Okay.
They're not worried about crashing the spaceship in the Hudson Bay. Nobody has to talk to anybody about that. So that's all done. But yeah, they take her to the hospital where she's feeling weak and also powerful at the same time. Beast and Xavier show up to be kind of shitty to her about it. Like, oh yeah, you were definitely fine. Beast is wearing a Howard the Duck shirt for reasons unknown.
Yeah.
Was Howard the Duck coming, like, when did that movie was in the 80s, right? Like, there's no way that Howard the Duck came out in 94, right?
Howard the Duck. The movie came out in the 80s, but it was a cartoon before that. It's like a Steve Gerber cartoon that's been around. So it's Steven. I think it's like a late 70s thing.
Okay. I just remember the movie. I don't remember anything before that. And of course, when he shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. So
I don't know why he's wearing clothes. It's just like,
why
it's a
does
weird
Beast
thing.
ever wear clothes?
And there's apparently like Howard the Duck exists as a comic in this universe. So I mean, I get it. It's just kind of a funny Easter egg.
Yeah.
But it's pretty goofy.
Beast talks about like all the stuff that's happening. Basically like, oh yeah, we don't have to worry about that because the government's covering it up, which any other time the X-Men would be furious about, but now seems totally okay.
Listen, we fucked up. Our plan was bad.
These poor astronauts that are like, no, we just woke up in this bricked-in closet with a bunch of food and water. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new concussions. So everybody's worried about Jean is what I get what they're trying to do here, because this is when they run into Wolverine and Wolverine's all pissy.
Well, not quite. But first we got to talk about Cyclops and Xavier yelling at each other, because Cyclops is like, "You sent us up there without any knowledge," and like they have a big fight, and then Beast is like, "Well, hey, that's not helping anybody. Let me take these mind control devices we pulled off the astronauts, and I'll go check those out.
I'll go science them."
Which is where he runs into Wolverine, like kicking over trash cans, and his advice to Wolverine is, maybe a Manhattan nightclub would help you out.
Well, I mean, I love that. Let's take a second though to talk about how right Scott is.
Also, yes, Scott is extremely right.
Like, Xavier, you fucked up, dude. Like, this is really like his perma fiance like almost died because you wouldn't say it's because I'm having weird dreams. Be careful. You know, and Xavier's a real shitbag about it. Like, Xavier's real, like, he doesn't cop to anything. You know, so I think it's really, really quick foreshadowing for like what's going to happen in 2 seconds when his Force Ghost comes out and is evil.
And then there's this scene where Wolverine actually agrees that, yeah, actually some nightlife might help me out, like from my, quasi crushed person almost dying and me going into space. Maybe I need to go dance to some trans, but they can't get a cab because
they're Beast and Wolverine. Yeah. Yep.
It's just so dumb.
So let's talk for a second about Xavier's car here. His flying.
What is this?
I didn't know the X-Men had these. Like, they have these. It's like the spaceship equivalent of a go-kart.
Yeah, it's like a little personal jet, but it doesn't. It's just like a little. Where did he land this? Is this on top of the hospital?
It's on the roof. Yeah, he landed on the hospital roof. Like, it's like yellow. It's real like, or it's yellow or bright green. It's like this very like little kid designed. It looks like a toy. Like, it looks like something you would buy for the X-Men to sit in from Toy Biz in like 1994.
It almost looks. I'll bet there is one of these. Like, there's probably like an X-Men.
I collected the shit out of these toys, and there isn't. Like, I had a bunch of these, and there's not this. It's just a weird. It's out of nowhere.
I'm just Googling this now just to see if there's anything. And no, there's not. I'm not seeing anything.
It's super strange.
There's the Blackbird, obviously, but that's it.
So when he gets into his ship, he has a mind attack. Mm-hmm. And then a version of Xavier pops out that has a shawl.
Technically, it's a shroud. I don't know if you remember the episode title or not.
Yeah, is it a shroud though? What even? It looks like he's it's like the thing that Sherlock Holmes wears.
Yeah, it's definitely a cape, is what I would call this. Like, I'm not a fashion boy by any means. Like, I have t-shirts and blue jeans all the way, but like, it clips around his neck. It's like a long flowing garment that goes out behind him, and for some reason his tie got a little bit longer and it's black. Like, that's evil Xavier. That's
evil Xavier. It's like the laziest Halloween costume. Like he's just like putting on whatever he has and just saying,
I want to do this for Halloween. This seems super easy. Like,
you don't even have to shave your head. That'd be the hard part.
I'm not. I mean, Yeah, you're right. I don't want to do that.
It's like there's one operative feature to Xavier. Like there's or one of his primary things there.
I shaved my head in like the 6th grade, and yeah, that was not a good. It was not a good look for me. Nobody needs to see this head.
I had a breakup and then like shaved my head afterwards because I was just like, the way you sometimes want a drastic change after a breakup. Just when I was like 20, and it looked extremely bad. I got a weird fucking shaped head. It's not good. Yeah.
Apparently, we have old dicks and weird heads. So
yeah, old dicks, weird heads. Yeah, I tried to Google image search this. I put in X-Men animated series The Shroud, and nothing shows up with Dark Xavier's cape. But there is a bunch of kind of previews from episodes that are to come, and I'm pretty excited. Like I didn't realize we were going to get an episode with like the Mutant Liberation Front and stuff. So this is a good show, and I'm into it. I want to get to that.
To just skim through real quick to see if we can find like a picture of evil Xavier real quick because it's quite good.
It'd be good for the show notes, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, this is really dumb because immediately what he decides to do is just fuck with the X-Men. Like that's his whole plan. Like there's no like end result. He just wants to fuck with the X-Men. And where is this mind attack coming from? Did you?
I don't know. I think if the best will in the world, I could say it's like just stress that comes from, all the psychic attacks that's been happening to him. But like they never say that. That's just me making a wild fucking guess.
I mean, they do a thing where they I guess act like it's Lilandra with the Imcron crystal, but like what? Why would
Lilandra isn't going to want to release his dark half? And at the end, he says it. He says something like, "The psychic barriers I keep up to keep my dark half away failed." So we run into some like fucking Logan shit. Like anytime Xavier gets a migraine, there's going to be a psychic ghost that goes around torturing people.
It's not a good scene, dude. That's not cool.
It's very weird, and it's the kind of thing that like is set up in the comics. Like there's precedent for this, right? Like there's Onslaught. There's the Xavier protocols. Like there's all this stuff about Xavier being one of his like his characterization things is that like he's so utilitarian that he has like files on how to kill all the X-Men in case he has to, and he had his like weird lingering crush on Jean Grey that never shows up in the cartoon, but it was in the comics weirdly enough, and like is part of why he turned into Onslaught. Like there's that kind of, there is a dark side to Xavier that's explicitly like evil, like this, but the way the show just like brings it up and puts it to bed in the space of about 8 minutes is really weird. Like nobody gives a shit after this stuff happens, and it's serious. Like people could die.
This is the most dangerous thing that I've seen the X-Men do so far. Like including like up to and including breaking into government nuclear buildings. Like this kind of shit terrifies me. If you look in the chat, by the way, ignore the Dark Souls 3 image, but the Xavier image is there if we want to talk about his cape some more. Because
and I do. It is very much like thematically of a piece with Logan. Where it's like, like Xavier is maybe not, should not be free to reign, on his own, and just kind of do whatever he wants, because he's fucking terrifying.
Because he's super fucking scary. Yeah, this will definitely. You want to even have to look in the notes for this. This will be the episode art. So this is this will be what comes up when you download the episode.
He does have that black tie.
Yeah, why did the tie turn black? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Anywho, so the first person on his hit list is Wolverine. Mm-hmm. And Wolverine's taking the subway like a schlub because he's got to get to that nightclub.
He's got to get to that nightclub, and it's
Night at the Roxbury, bub.
He's gotten 3 key bumps in him, and it only lasts for about 4 minutes, so he's got to get there quick.
So a bunch of Yuriko shows up and like tempts him into another subway car, which then turns into Sabretooth, which then turns into Deadpool.
Yep.
Fucking with him, and Wolverine's the one person who should be able to know if this is a psychic projection. But then evil Xavier appears there as well, and Wolverine's kind of like doesn't really fall for it, which Xavier will 100% know.
Mm-hmm.
But he does. He is. He knows it's not really Xavier, but he is hurting his feelings real bad.
Oh yeah, you were an animal when I found you. You don't deserve this, and then like evil Xavier like produces a gun and shows Wolverine that Jubilee's tied up on the train tracks like he's some fucking vaudeville villain.
Yeah.
And then when Wolverine tries to run away, he like cements his feet to the ground. Like
with like psychic goo, which then can be cut through with claws though, because that's how Wolverine gets out. So his claws cut through the psychic goo and he escapes. Like it's a very sloppy scene.
Yeah. This whole thing, by the way, like there's so much going on here. Like he goes back to him, starts fucking with Gambit for a little while. Then he calls before he starts talking, can't go over that too quick because I guess Gambit and Jubilee just go to movies together.
Hey, Shell. Where can you and me go and get some good Cajun food in this town, huh?
Hey! You said you'd take me to this Broadway show!
Sure, yeah, that's something.
Like, Gambit skis in on some lady in line, and like Julie's like, "You promised you'd take me to the movies." Like, what? I wouldn't have accepted this pairing. Like, what is it? Is there is Jubilee just on the chore wheel?
No. You know, I guarantee you that that Jubilee is 13 and just wants to get the fuck out of the house, right? Like, you promised you would take me to the mall. Like, you've been there, right? Like, I just want to leave. I will go with it. Literally, Grandma, what are you doing? Take me somewhere. This is not my house. I
think that on different days of the week, the different X-Men have to chaperone Gambit to make sure he doesn't do sex crimes. So I think that they make it seem like she puts up an act to think that he's taking care of her, but really she's there just to make sure he doesn't end up in fucking lockup again.
Gambit is like one sex crime away in every county in New York from just having to go to jail. He's like, what zip code Gambit in? Guess okay.
Like, I don't know what borough this is.
Where's the closest church, Cherie? I need to go away for a little while.
And then if he ever gets actually banned, and that's why the Xavier mansion can't be within like a certain number of feet of schools and shit too. Like he's on a number of lists, and it just becomes too much of a headache. Like if he gets moved again, so Jubilee has to take care of him. But he shows up and takes care of him. And not like doesn't do anything cool like psychological torture of Gambit, which like you could do because there's this whole like long running arc about Gambit betraying the X-Men.
Yep.
But he chooses not to do that.
Having a very tiny penis too. Don't forget that.
Exactly. Like we just come up there and be like, "What are you compensating for?" And just like, "What the?" Like,
I see you drive a 4x4, Gambit. Mm.
My insecurity, it hurt, no? But so he doesn't do that. He just kind of fucks with them a little bit. Makes fun of Jubilee, but then Wolverine shows up to be like, "That's not Xavier." And this is when the cops show up and Storm does her like mist maze.
Yeah, because the cops show up and immediately evil Xavier disappears, or Dark Xavier, or maybe let's call him Dark Shroud Xavier. That sounds appropriately.
Dark Shroud Xavier. It's a good Dark Souls boss.
Dark Shroud Xavier, or
an invader, like a good Dark Souls invader.
Yeah, so the cops show up and like want to arrest them, and once again, Storm is there to summon Fog. We didn't mention this way back when, but she also at the beginning of this episode, as they're interrogating Jubilee, Storm breaks in there and fills up the room with fog. Jubilee out. 3
fogs in the space of about 25 minutes of total cartoon. So
it's pretty crazy.
So Dark Xavier on his whirlwind tour of X-Men to torture shows up at the room where Scott is holding like vigil with Jean, and hits Cyclops with mind ray or whatever, and then Jean wakes up and is like, that's a projection, zaps him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they eventually, they kills the dark projection. They go up to the roof, and Xavier explains what happens.
Phoenix is out to do that. Like she flares basically.
Yeah, she has to Phoenix up. We go to the roof, and Xavier explains things like what this whole thing was, I guess.
And I love that Xavier is like, my dark persona came to life. I have to hide him inside my body all the time, or else he'll get out and like kill people.
Yeah, I am a ticking time bomb.
I'm going to go to Scotland to visit my ex-girlfriend. Peace. And just leaves. Like, that's it. That's all they get. You guys take care of all this weird shit that's happening, and maybe talk to the government about that space shuttle we dumped in the Hudson Bay. I gotta go to Scotland or Ireland or whatever the fuck your island.
Yeah, if I don't see my ex, I'm gonna go fucking crazy. Which, like, as somebody with exes, like, that's not what that wouldn't make me better.
That's not what that relationship is at all.
Yeah, and I get that they're still friends, but it is a weird thing. So he takes his space go-kart to Muir Island, where we're introduced to Moria and Banshee.
Yep. Well, Moira we've seen before, like way back then. But Banshee is brand new, and also her fiance, which immediately bums out Xavier. And man, it's actually a pretty good bummed out Xavier face.
I mean, I guess he was maybe he was thinking like, listen, like he was gonna get back together or at least like hook up or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm having a rough time. Like can you hold me and it can feel a little bit like we were back in our old relationship. And it's like, no, I'm getting married to this guy who's never out. It's like, I'm getting married to this Irish guy.
You know what always makes me feel better? When my evil self springs forth from inside my telepathic mind and starts torturing folks.
Mm-hmm.
Sex.
Just
some dirty like, X sex.
Yeah, just like Moira on top,
just some like we need, both of us know we should not be doing this like dirty ass XX.
Yeah, they get triple X.
The Xavier XX.
Yeah, and like I can kind of see that, but it's so funny that immediately like he lands and the fiance is there. He's like, sorry, bud. So he goes to bed, like he's like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep.
And he literally does that. He's like, all right, I can't handle this, I'm leaving, and like goes to make his own Moira doesn't even know he was coming. They were on a walk together.
It's a real like familiarity thing where he's like, I'm gonna live here now. And Banshee like knows what's up. He's like, are you sure he's not still in love with you? And she's like, no, he's not, but he needs me, or something like that. And it's like, you don't fucking know that. Like,
yeah, you don't know.
He definitely just drove across. He just like sky drove across the globe for you.
And also, like, because she makes a point of saying he gives everything to his X-Men. He needs somebody to take care of him. Like, he literally just left his fucking X-Men in New York.
Like, after psychically attacking them.
Yeah, not great. But none of that matters because Moira and Banshee get to make out, which is always fun. And then Lilandra shows up. Like, she just plops in her spacesuit. This weird bug-eyed spacesuit creature that we've seen actually turns out to be just a woman, or I guess a bird woman, but like not even a real bird woman, but it ends up being Lilandra. She was the one that's been psychically communicating to Xavier, and she gives us a whole lot of exposition about what happens.
Yeah, she explains who she is. There's an empire. There's her brother Dekan who's trying to take it over. She's got this crystal. He wants to use it to destroy the world, but she took it. And they're about to, and she also explains their connection. Like, hey, you're my secret Mzadi. Like, we have this mind connection thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when they fall in like super love, because like Lilandra and Xavier have weird super love.
Yeah, like, and it's like both of them are just, and it feels so shitty because Xavier just saw his ex like, oh yeah, you're engaged? Well, I've got a space girlfriend now.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like so one up. Like, this chick kind of likes me, and now we're in love.
I mean, it's even better when, because their Juggernaut shows up. And we're going to get to a point where they all come in and Lilandra is not there and nobody believes that Lilandra is real, which is that's so hilarious and good. Like, cause it adds to that where it's just like, no, really, like you're married to Banshee. Well, I've got Space Girlfriend. And it's like, well, where is she, buddy? Like, where are you okay? Like, just, which is like, now that I'm saying it out loud, is like a total valid way to take it, but they just don't really do that. The actor doesn't have any kind of vulnerability that like would make any of this make sense.
Not at all.
Like Xavier, like you could explain every stupid, shitty thing he's done for the last 2 episodes if he wasn't like ultra confident Xavier. Like you just,
absolutely.
It's like a case of poor direction where like if he had been like, shown a little bit of vulnerability, I think it would have made a lot of sense.
And as you mentioned, this is where Juggernaut busts in because Juggernaut just automatically knows where Xavier is at all times.
Yeah, his Xavier radar is going off. Yeah, so we're going to, rather than doing the spotlight, we're going to continue on, keep our momentum here, and move directly into XM305, the Phoenix Saga Part 3, Cry of the Banshee, original air date September 7th, 1994. You'll notice that's one day after the last one, so they're showing these all in a row. The X-Men enlist the help of fellow mutant Banshee and launch an attempt to save Lilandra. But when they arrive at the site, the X-Men are stopped in their tracks by the Gladiator. Faced with a foe unlike they've ever seen before, the X-Men are soon overpowered, but not before the Phoenix comes to their aid.
Another relatively accurate description.
Relatively accurate. It papers over like the entirety of Juggernaut and Black Tom, but that's okay. Which are kind of the big deal in this.
Yeah.
So they this point, Juggernaut showed up. He knocked. He that was the kind of sting at the end here.
Mm-hmm. before our to be continued. We
Yeah.
kind of open on Moira and Banshee still making out from the last episode. Like they're just tonsil hockey all over the place. Like that's all they're doing.
Oh,
Bunch of newlyweds.
Yeah.
But they hear Xavier being attacked and run over. Lalandra is able to knock Juggernaut's head off, which allows Xavier to get control of him. Unfortunately, Black Tom shows up and shoots Xavier, which puts a stop to that pretty quick.
Yes.
Black Tom is very focused on the business. Like they have been hired by Eric the Red to kidnap Lalandra. Like we got some subcontracting coming on.
It's like subcontracting. Like Eric the Red's plans and henchmen goals. Like he put out like a contract or something. On Earth. Like I just it's very like Eric the Red's methods don't make any sense to me at all.
No, not at all. Like, where did he pull up Juggernaut from? Like, was he just going through the Pizza Hut tape and like looking through the villains of the X-Men?
Like, through Soldier of Fortune and just happened to find the top-rated mercenary ever.
Juggernaut though, like he's a little bit more focused on Xavier. Like he's got a lot of resentment towards Xavier, so he like tries to throw Xavier out of the window. But fortunately, Banshee comes in, and I will probably cut in the audio of Banshee screaming a few times because it is god awful.
It's a brave choice.
It's the guy commits to it. The actor commits to it, and it's the same guy that was in the Generation X show, which we did for the Duck Bundle, the Diggity Duck Bundle, which everybody should go check that out if you haven't. It's a really good episode if you like this. But man, he just leans into it so hard, and it's awful.
It happens too much.
Yes.
Like way too much. Like it's loud. Like it's actually loud in the mix. And he has to do it to fly. So in the comics, it just means there's this little trail of E's that follows Banshee, like E. And it doesn't seem like it would just be like literally just a guy yelling. They couldn't have added an effect to this. They couldn't have made it, kind of weird. It's just like a guy screaming. Super, super weird. But he saves Xavier's life. And this is when they end up in the hotel and they're just like, sure, your space girlfriend was here.
And Xavier just leans into it so hard. He's like, of course she's here and of course she's real. I love her.
Oh my God. Like,
all right, 15-year-old Xavier. First it was Dark Shroud Xavier. Now we've got 15-year-old Xavier coming out to play.
Xavier's having a real rough couple episodes in this. Like this is like, it's the Phoenix's story, but Xavier has been the fucking fucked up one the entire time.
Seriously.
Which is, kind of strange. So back in the hospital, they switch to, because this is another episode where everything is a little bit too fiddly, I think, the way this all works, because it has a lot to do with like a lot of the plot machinations are Xavier spying on Lalandra, but Jean spying on Xavier. Like there's a lot of like third-hand information stuff that happens here. So like back in the hospital, Jean has another kind of like Jean Phoenixy episode, and the X-Men all show up in their casual clothes.
Rogue finally appears. They finally animate
where have
Rogue.
I been? Yeah.
And she feels kind of guilty for not being there while all this stuff was going down, which, hey, you should. Like, what was your important mission?
Literally, what could you be doing?
Did you get the Girl Scout cookies you were looking for, Rogue? Did you finally find the Thin Mints?
Yeah. And this is where, again, Wolverine being like the kind of point of reason, I think, for anything is just like, they're going to go check out Xavier's thing, and there's kind of this discussion about it, whether they should, whether it's bonkers. Xavier is kind of a shithead now, and Wolverine says like, "Hey, we were just in space and saw a bunch of aliens. Like none of the rules make sense anymore.
Yeah,
like all bets are off."
I don't think I have it in the notes, but I think Moira calls them and is like, "Hey, Xavier had an episode and destroyed my bedroom, and is now claiming that there's a space alien here that he's
got to go
with.
pick up your dad.
You gotta go pick up your dad. He's drunk."
Yeah, he's like, he won't stop hallucinating space girlfriends and blowing up my shit. Like,
but good on Wolverine for like saying like, no, let's give him the fucking benefit of the doubt. Like, I can just go over there and smell around. And
that's exactly it. Like, I have the power. There's lots of psychics on the team, but for some reason, I'm the one who can tell other things are real. And it's not so much he's just like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, which he does, and I'm not as sympathetic to that as just like, who knows, something crazy might be happening. We're the X-Men, and crazy shit happens all the time. Like maybe it's something. So they end up there, This is where they switch to the castle. This is where we learn about Black Tom's whole thing. And there's this lengthy negotiation scene where like Black Tom is like, here's my $10 million. And Eric Thread's like, you get nothing. And then Juggernaut walks up behind him, grabs his head. It's awesome, and they have this like this kind of like you'll pay my partner. And Eric Thread decides to give him $10 million, which he somehow got. I just imagine him at the your currency exchange.
What is he like? How many Imcron crystals? Let me Google that. What are $10 million?
Conversion rate? Yeah. You can kind of see him doing this thing where he hires them. He has no intention to pay them, because he doesn't realize the Juggernaut's super powerful. But that's why he hired the Juggernaut. It's real. Again, Eric Thread's plans are really shitty.
Yeah, he's not great at this whole supervillain thing. You definitely see why he's like assistant to the assistant to the assistant in all of this. He's the Dwight of the group.
Yeah,
that's what he is. Yeah, that's great. Finally, the X-Men show up, and Wolverine and Banshee fight for some reason. They just immediately kind of get into it. I think Banshee is kind of a little bit of a smartass, or doesn't believe Wolverine or something, so Wolverine kind of gets into it. And then again, you talked about it before, but there's a lot of back and forth. So Juggernaut shows up with Lilandra to, so we can see Black Tom counting his $10 million.
Yep.
There's a lot of yelling between Lilandra and Eric while they talk about I don't know, space stuff. None of this stuff really made a lasting impression on me at all.
Khan is going to destroy the world if you give him this crystal. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm going to do it because I'm loyal to the Emperor. I'm evil, etc. Lilandra then, since she still has her psychic connection to Xavier, sends Xavier a postcard of where they're at.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And because of that. Charles Xavier shows everyone else Wolverine knows that Juggernaut was there and something is alien there. He's like, oh, there was an alien here, so maybe Chuck does have a girlfriend. And then Xavier projects this postcard to everyone, and really, really nice coincidence that Banshee's like, oh, that's my family castle.
Yeah, totally. Black Tom is my black cousin. I mean, no, wait, that doesn't sound right. Black Tom is my. How do I say this without sounding? Black Tom is my. You know what? He's just he's the black sheep.
Yeah, he's the black sheep of the family. So at this point, and this is Phoenix at some point also scans him. This happens a little bit later, I think, but that's how everyone just kind of figures out where to go.
Yeah, and then there's fights break out. At this point, the astronauts turns zombie slaves show up, and the X-Men have to fight those guys.
The space station zombies, they call them, which are again, what a couple of weeks for these guys. We're they've just been doing Eric Thread's laundry for
So if you're
all your clothes are metal and you don't have any. And the way they get there,
would you rather remember this time if you're the astronaut, or not remember this time? Would you wake up with just no memory whatsoever?
It would be great to have no memory, but you dream about it. The way they get there is there's a bunch of X-Men, but the X-Men that can fly carry everybody.
Yeah, that's always real goofy and great.
Banshee carries Wolverine, and Wolverine just has his hands on his ears ah. It's really good. If we hadn't already chosen Dark Xavier, that'd be a really good image for the this episode. It's a very funny image.
Dude, this whole thing is just so goofy, and it's if the listeners out there are a little bit confused to the timeline, it's because none of this makes a whole lot of sense. It's just throwing stuff at you. I think it's pretty impressive that we've gotten through so much of the show so quickly when because the show is paced that quick. It's just going that fast.
And it's everything is unnecessary. If something marks these 3 episodes, it's being unnecessarily complicated. Again, everybody's getting third hand information, everybody's in different kind of places, and it's not juggled real well. And just it's not I needed a scene where Eric the Red hires Juggernaut, but it does feel weird and arbitrary that he shows up. It's they just had to introduce Banshee, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, everyone converges.
Yes.
So they all show up at the castle for a big castle fight that I think is actually really good.
Yeah, there's actually some really good animation here. They do some clever perspective tricks here where people are kind of, and they did this back on the Savage Land episode too, where they're fighting with the Mr. Sinister and his weirdo nasty boys, but where the perspective stays in one place and the X-Men kind of fight across it at different sides, and I really appreciate that. That stuff always looks really cool. It reminds me of the movies when they kind of trade off, Wolverine will be fighting somebody and he'll throw him to someone else or something.
Yeah. They also have the thing where Rogue like flies through the wall and busts through different rooms where fights are happening.
Oh yeah, that was super cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
It's a really good fight actually. Like I think it's one of the better ones we've had.
If I was good at making GIFs, I would
it would be an
try to do
awesome
it.
Yeah.
We've been kind of seeing throughout the episode of this like weird entity flying towards Earth in the middle of space, and finally it lands, and it's Gladiator, who is one of the Emperor's X-Men, as you said earlier in the episode. And he's like super pissed off at Eric because all Eric was supposed to do was capture Lilandra. Like nobody said shit about this X-Men, Black Tom, Juggernaut, Irish Castle bullshit.
Like you made this way more complicated than it needed to be.
Gladiator has no idea of the plot, and he does not care.
I have no idea why Juggernaut and Black Tom were able to chase down Lilandra if Eric the Red couldn't.
Well, I mean, a psychic connection between Tom and Banshee, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. And like, it's not a psychic connection between Juggernaut and Xavier because Juggernaut wears a helmet to stop a psychic connection between Juggernaut and Xavier. Like, it's literally something he doesn't want to have happen. He's wearing a psychic condom like to stop that.
And we've proven, like in the first season of the cartoon, that Juggernaut does not know where Xavier is at all times, just naturally. Like he showed up to the Xavier mansion when Xavier wasn't there. He was in Congress or whatever.
Yeah, it's been established many times over that like this would not happen. Again, just overly complicated. Like it would have been, like have Eric the Red pull out a little device and have a tracking device. And you can avoid like literally everything that happened in this, and it's fun stuff. Like it's a good fight, it's cool. It moves the plot along, but like it doesn't make any sense. Gladiator is kind of a neat character in the comics because he's like Longshot, where he's as powerful as his like faith in his emperor is, or something like that. His power has a belief component.
Yeah,
that makes it variable.
Which is really interesting. Like I always like when they do that, would do stuff like that, because we see like in the new X-Men with Grant Morrison how that gets just completely turned around on him, and he just becomes ineffectual. Like that was really, really fun. So
yeah. Cassandra Nova just kind of tells him like, "Hey, this is what your empire is," and like lays out the facts, and it kind of destroys him. Yeah. It'd be like every once in a while somebody will make that argument to Captain America too, where they're just like, "Hey, America is shit." Have you seen how many tent cities there are outside the fucking Avengers mansion? Like, it's maybe not that good of a country, Cap. And he just, and it never works on him, but his powers aren't tied to it, and it's cool that people fuck with that with Gladiator.
Did you see the new Spider-Man trailer that came out?
No.
There's a really brief moment where you see Captain America like on a video screen, and he's like Captain America's fitness program for the youths or whatever. It just looks like the goopiest shit ever, and I'm like, Captain, like, what do you after everything that you've been through, you're making fitness videos? What the fuck?
That happened after Civil War when
Sorry. Yeah. The X-Men fight Gladiator, which does not go over very well. Gladiator just wipes them all out. Back at the hospital, Jean realizes what's happening, turns into full Phoenix, and flies across the planet and literally kicks Gladiator off the fucking planet. Like, just like kind of flicks him and he goes flying. Eric the Red, in one of my favorite villain departures ever, turns around and runs without a single word said.
Out of here.
This is way beyond me. I was punching above my weight class before, and now somebody just kicked Gladiator's ass. I am out.
In the next episode, it's getting a little ahead of ourselves. Black Tom does the same thing.
Mm-hmm,
and he's like, "Yes, Mr. Gladiator," and then just leaves. It's very funny. Yes, sir. So yeah, Gladiator gets, and then Phoenix shows up, right? So like Phoenix shows up and beats up Gladiator, throws him off the planet, like spares him by throwing him into space.
Yep.
And then we show Dakan like it's a reveal, and like we give a shit who Dakan is.
Yeah, and like Dakan descends on the Earth or whatever, and like nobody cares. But we still have 2 more episodes. So.
Yeah. Yep.
But we're gonna get to those in 2 weeks from now. Meanwhile, I think these were 3 pretty okay episodes. Like they're super goofy. I think the animation has definitely taken a turn for the worse, and this is also, as we mentioned in our feedback episode, this is where the studio started having massive problems with their animation studio. They were sending stuff back to be redone, things were being shown out of order, all of the stuff. So like I think that the quality has gone down a little bit, but it's also gotten a lot more imaginative and a lot more crazy. Like I can't imagine the plot. Like I would love to see a script to this, right?
Yeah.
Like the voice actors have to be looking at this and go, what is this show? Like what the fuck am I doing?
I'm way into how weird these episodes are. Like, it's harder to take this seriously, than earlier episodes where I'm like, oh man, this has a strong emotional and thematic core. This doesn't. Like, it 100% doesn't. It's just like bonkers, and really unpredictable in a way that I think is pretty fun.
And again, I remember watching these as a kid, and I've talked about this before, seeing stuff in the animated series kind of out of order because, like, TiVo didn't exist back then. And I didn't fucking keep up with this stuff, but and just seeing like a character like Black Tom and thinking like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? Like, I want to know more about that guy. Ultimately disappointed in Black Tom, but like what but it just there's so much craziness that they pack into a 20-something minute episode.
Yeah. Black Tom is real weird. Like, he shoots beams, and that's really him. At some point, he turns into a tree. He's just there to like have like a schemer to attach a schemer to Juggernaut. I think.
Yeah, because Juggernaut's kind of the big dumb idiot. So we need.
Yeah, and there's no. He was never going to do anything other than just like knock down buildings and rob banks if he didn't have Black Tom attached to him.
Yeah.
So, again, I think very fun episodes without being like particularly good. I think the next two are better.
I do too. Yeah, I actually had kind of fun watching the next two, even though Autumn was watching them with me and like kind of giving me that look that I've come to know means, are you really doing a podcast about this?
Well, the end of it is so fucking like what Dakan wants is really stupid. But if you replace that with, I guess what happens at the end of like the Dark Phoenix Saga in the comics, where it's like a trial or something like that. You replace it with maybe a trial would make sense, but you replace it with a cooler ending than just like he wants to live inside a rock world. It just ends up making kind of more of a sense together, I think.
I think that run down apartment complex and be the manager.
I can't wait to live in an apartment. And I think the Starjammer stuff is actually pretty cool. So we're going to get to that. If you like this show, you can support the entire network on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you can give us a couple bucks a month. That'd be really fantastic. We are nearing, not really nearing a new milestone, but nearing a nice big round number, which I always like.
Oh, cool.
And if you even a little bit of money helps. So if you don't support the network at this point, that is the reason why we're able to do extra shows and these kind of vanity projects like this. Not that this is a vanity project, but like do take risks. It is primarily a video game network, and to do some shows that are not about video games, which we want to do, we need to be able to commit time to that kind of stuff. And that helps. Yeah.
And, doing that gets you also access to the Slack, where we have like a lot of cool people that hang out and talk about Gambit and Wolverine and all kinds of things. So it's a really, really fun place to go and hang out and chat on the internet. Gary, I think it might be literally the only safe place left on the internet.
It's generally pretty good. Even we've had like 2 minor instances of drama, and those drama bits are like usually us saying like, hey, can you cool it? And then the person cools it. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, that was literally the extent of it.
Yeah, so it's very, very, it's a very sweethearted community.
It really is. And I think I talked about that on the feedback episode because that came out last week, so never mind.
That's all right.
If you want to keep up with the show, we have the schedule posted at daysoffuturecast.com/schedule. You can go there and see what day the podcast is going to come out and what episodes of the TV show that the episode of the podcast is going to cover. I made that way too difficult to say, but just go to daysoffuturecast.com/schedule and you can see all of that. Thank you everybody for listening. If you have time, give us an iTunes review. It really, really helps. Tell your friends that are into the X-Men or just dirty Gambit jokes in this case.
Yes.
they can because they probably appreciate the show, and it really, really helps to spread the word about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably about it. So until next time, good night.
Good night.